What's up, everybody? Another episode of DDD Podcast. We're here at Door to Door Con, knocking these out. And I actually have a really cool story. We brought Warner Alvarez on, and he is a former missionary of the mission. My dad was the mission president in New Jersey. So I go out, this was probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm out in New Jersey just helping my dad train, just visiting family. And I got to meet Warner. And I did a little bit of door-to-door training. Obviously, that's my background. And when he got out of the mission, he's going to kind of tell you his journey. So welcome to the show, my man. And
thanks so much.
So cool to have you here out in Utah.
Thanks so much.
Again, we'll talk through that.
Yes, sir.
And proud of what you've accomplished, my man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. So, yes, met Sam in Jersey. Great inspiration on everything that you did. Your dad told me everything, and he's very proud of you. He would tell the stories about you all the time. So when I got back home from the mission, broke, super broke, lived in my mom's basement, had like 6 months to figure out what I was gonna do. Then you did Door to Door Con, the first one.
Yep.
Right, so I gathered some coins, put it together, bought a ticket, came here. Then when you were talking, there was so many ideas that I was able to unwire my brain and then wire the new ideas into my brain. When I went back home, I was still an employee. When I went back home, I implemented all those ideas. 6 years later, I have 3 companies and I make a ton of money and I live in a big mansion, 1.3 acres, really nice in New York. That's big. And I'm doing really well. I do sales, the same principles. It's the same thing that I learned that first time. I apply them every day. It's simple little things, but they make you a ton of money.
What were some of those principles, if you don't mind me sharing?
Right. So,
but that's cool. Pause on that. Guys, multi-millionaire, 3 companies, killing it. 6 years ago, broke, could barely afford a ticket to Utah, but he made that sacrifice to say, hey, I'm coming out. I'm gonna invest in me. I'm gonna say, who's got the secret sauce? Where can I shortcut this? And it sounds like you learned some hacks, and it took off. So tell us, what are those hacks?
Awesome. The first one was when it first started. I don't remember who the guy was, but he would say, you got to remember your why. Why are you here? Why? And then I wrote down the why, which was crazy idea, which was to do Alvarez, which is my last name, Alvarez Enterprise, and to do a real estate portfolio to leave that to my children. Right, that's like so far out. I'm not even there yet, but that was a very far goal. So that was the foundation of, well, you can build upon that, and you can't give up because you can't give up on your family. So the other one was taking like the bow and arrow analogy that you used to say. You take the arrows from people.
Yep.
That you take it from them and then you just
quiver.
shoot them.
Yeah,
right.
That's always my analogy.
Yeah,
they give you arrows, and you put them in your quiver, and
Yeah.
then you'll pull them out and shoot them right back.
Yeah, and that's such a easy principle, very simple, but it works because all you have to do is like, well, if I do this for you, how would it help you? And then they have to say how that would help. It's just asking those type of questions for them to give you the arrow, and then you just shoot them right there. They're in front of you. So those were 2 big ones, the why, and then getting the ammunition from them so you can shoot them. Sounds weird, but and then your book. Didn't read the whole thing, but there was a lot of ideas in your book that you sold it to me for $30, man. I didn't have the $30, but I put it on a credit card. It was awesome. It paid off a lot more than $30.
Love that. Love that. So what challenges have maybe come as you've scaled and grown, and what challenges have come up since that you've maybe had to overcome?
Limiting beliefs were a big one. Just because of my background, I was born in Costa Rica, poor country, poor mindset, so I had to wipe that out of my brain. First realized that was all bad, poor mentality. Wipe that out and then go into more events, podcast, reading a ton of books to actually learn the right stuff and then apply it. But yeah, limiting beliefs was huge. and adapting to growing, because when you're growing, every day is different problems, and then you just have to adapt to adopt.
Love that. Love that. I think a lot of people, it was interesting. Tom Billio said something. I don't know if this was in the breakout or during his speech, but he's like, it's those that, or no, it's Dave Meltzer. He's like, don't have any information or don't have any information. It's those that are humble enough to say, I need to learn and adopt and be malleable, fall, get embarrassed and move and grow, are those that are always going to be successful. And it's like, it's not if we're going to fail, if we're going to have challenges. It's when we do, how do we respond and where do we go and move with those challenges? And I think every entrepreneur needs to realize that, because I think the reality is people are so limiting themselves because they can't take action because they're not wanting to fail. They don't want to get embarrassed. They don't want to look bad, right? So I think just like sending it and just being like, hey, however this goes, I'm cool with that. And then rolling with that. That's cool.
And you do that too. I get to see you on Instagram doing all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, I could do maybe not that, but I could do something else.
Yeah.
And then you give us the example to follow, to do certain things that I wouldn't even think to do.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Sam has a huge boat that takes all these people out, and I'm like, I can have a boat too.
Yeah.
Sam travels, I can travel too.
Yeah.
You know, Sam does his thing. I could learn to do that as well, and get to. So I'll follow you. Thank you so much for your example.
Thank you.
If you have I'm your number one fan, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah.
It means a lot. No, it means a lot.
I appreciate you, man.
And I would even call it fans. I think modeler might be a better way. Like, I think there's people that people should pick to model. They're like,
Right.
I vibe with their energy. I vibe with their lifestyle. I align with their core values. I want to model off something like that. And like Dave Meltzer talked about, it's like you have people that are on, 5th base camp, 6th base camp, 7th base camp that are pulling up the guys on 4th, 5th, and 3rd. It's not the guys on 3rd and 2nd that you're like, oh, let me just like hang with you. Like, you want to be looking at the people that are higher base camp than you, and they're always willing to help out. Like, I'm out here giving out free stuff all the time, even this podcast, where it's like, hey, model this. Here's some good stuff. Try this. Because I feel like I've had to go through shit that a lot of people haven't gone through either.
Right. Do you feel like everything's changed because you have this mentality of giving away stuff no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of people don't realize that law of reciprocity, right? Which means when I hold out my hand to give, I'm assuming I can hold out the other hand, something will land back in it. But I think a lot of people, they go like this, and then they close their hand instead of they put their hand out, leave it open, wait patiently, and something will come back into that hand. You have to have faith, though, that something's going to come back in that hand. I call it the boomerang effect. When I throw the boomerang out, if I don't have faith that it's going to loop back around and I haven't like thrown it the right way, and I'm like, okay, I'm throwing this out there, and it flies back around. You know what I mean? That's like how the abundance model works, is it's just having a much more open, abundant thinking, and it requires one of the principles is faith. So
that's a lot of gold you just gave me right there.
No, I'm here to help. I'm here to help.
If you could give me one or two great advices, knowing my background and all these things, what would, if you, and advices, and if you were me, what would you do?
Be really smart with your money. You can make a lot of money, but when you're like, I have a 1.3 acre spot in New York, it shows me, but then you're like, well, I haven't really started the real estate portfolio, and I don't know your whole finance, but I'm like, I would have loved to hear, I have a sweet real estate portfolio and I have a nice home. I think a lot of people buy these nice things, want to live this life, but they don't set themselves up for a future. Versus I set myself up for a future, then started buying the nice things. So I made sure I was like, what are my assets, so that worst freaking shiz hits the fan, I want to know I got myself covered. I could sell off a property. I could go do this. I could cash out this, and I'm okay. Versus I might lose my house. It's like, yeah, you had a good run for 4 or 5 years. Well, does that mean you're going to have a good run for the next 4 or 5 years? There's no guarantees in this life. But if I can build my wealth, that gives me a sense of security that I'm good. So I would make sure to build that wealth. And then also like keep expanding your network. Like I think a lot of people, they get stuck in their own, kind of they're afraid to put themselves in a place where, like, obviously you're here, but there's one thing of spectating and one thing of like kind of shaking hands. There's another thing to be like, who do I need to go deep with here that can really take me and help me to get to another level? There's like the touching sprinkles sauce. It's like, no, I want the meat. Where's the meat? Who in here do I need to meet that is the meat of what's going to take me to another level? How do I surround myself with people that it's like, those are the right people to take me to the next level? Because it's like having like I brought my coach here. Like I have a fitness coach. He's in the booth over there. I have my relationship coach came yesterday and spoke. You know what I mean? Like I have people that I pay consistently to help be in my corner. So anyway, hopefully that helps. But guys, you got a ton of value out of Warner. He's freaking a badass. Like, it's so cool to see people like you go from zero to hero, gives faith to everybody else that has negative money in their bank account, take a risk, goes entrepreneurial right out the gate. So super proud of what you've accomplished, and appreciate you. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast.
Thanks. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.